Good evening and welcome. I will now call the board meeting of Wednesday, February the 18th, 2026 to order. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Islands First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewa of Georgina Islands First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Before playing O Canada, I'd like to share the following. The Durham District School Board, like all education communities across Canada, was deeply saddened by the events at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in British Columbia last week. In response, Director Williams-Taylor sent a message to both staff and families directly to acknowledge the tragedy and provide resources to those who may benefit from additional support. And the flags at our education centre were lowered to half-mast. On behalf of the Durham District School Board of Trustees, I would ask everyone present to join us in a moment of reflective silence in recognition of the profound loss at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and in solidarity with their community. I would like to call on our media technician team to play the recorded performance of O Canada. I will ask those who are present to please stand if you are able. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, there are no declarations of interest at this time. Can I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as distributed? Thank you, Trustee Jacula. Thank you, Trustee Edwards. All in favour? The agenda is approved as distributed. I will now move to the consent agenda items. Is there any objection to the following matters listed in section 6 of the agenda being approved or adopted as noted on the agenda? Adoption of the following resolution from February 18th Committee of the Whole in-camera meeting regarding trustee attendance. The resolutions were to approve the February 2nd, 2026 absences of Trustee Kelly Miller and Trustee Carolyn Morton, and to approve a leave of absence that Trustee Kelly Miller be excused from attending all meetings, including any and all mandatory meetings as defined in the board's consolidated bylaw, up to and including the standing committee meeting of May 5th, 2026. Trustees Miller's absence from any such meetings is authorised in accordance with the provisions of Section 2281B of the Education Act. B. Adoption of any other resolutions from the February 18th, 2026 Committee of the Whole in camera. And C. Approval of the following draft meeting minutes of January 19th, 2026 regular board meeting. And D, the adoption of the following resolution from January 27th, 2026, Violence in Schools Ad Hoc Committee meeting. That the Ad Hoc Committee mandate be extended to March 31st, 2026. Then E, adoption of the following resolutions from January 28th, 2026, Governance and Policy Committee meeting. That the revised communications policy be approved, that staff provide a report to the committee that presents the risks and benefits of the policy that curtails the use of social media as a tool to communicate with DDSB as a whole, that the draft records and information management be approved. Are there any objections? Seeing no objection, all items listed on the consent agenda are approved or adopted as noted. We are now on item 7, public question period. Each question will be displayed on screen along with its response from staff. Questioners joining us online are reminded to ask only their approved questions. To ensure adequate time is available for regular business of this meeting, questions of a similar nature may be grouped together. Approved questions and their answers will be posted on the DDSB website, and all questions submitted will be shared with trustees. Supplemental or follow-up questions can be submitted to the next public question period or through the general inquiries mailbox on the DDSB website. We have one question this evening. I'd first like to invite Dylan Reynolds to ask the question virtually, which we will then be responded to by Associate Director Jim Markowski.
Good evening, everybody. My name is All right, my question tonight is about online safety. Since December of 2025, there were a lot of online threats against William Dunbar Public School in Pickering, Ontario, according to an article by CTV News. Back on February 2nd, 2026. I'm wondering, how did the DDSB handle it?
Good evening, Dylan, and thank you for your question this evening. So as you've outlined, our school community at William Dunbar Public School has faced some concerning threats over the last couple of months, and we recognize the impact this has had on students, families, and staff. So in terms of your question on how we handle it, we continue to work closely with DRPS to support their ongoing investigations. We maintain clear communication with families, and we provide safety education, online safety resources, and mental health supports to ensure that William Dunbar Public School remains a safe and caring environment for all. Again, thank you for your question this evening.
Yeah, I do want to make an acknowledgement too, and this time actually a good acknowledgement, that 5 years ago, which would have been Monday, February 16th, would have marked 5 years since I started doing these public collection periods, was February 16th, 2021. If people would recall, it was my first public collection period at that time, and I want to say it's been half a decade. It's actually been a really good run from the public collection period for all these years. So.
Thank you, Dylan. And that concludes the public question period. I will now move on to agenda item 8, the Chair's update. On behalf of the trustees, I'm pleased to share the Chair's update with you tonight. On February 7th, the annual Muslim Educators Network of Durham Ramadan Market brought our community together in a spirit of connection and celebration. Over 50 local vendors joined us at J. Clark Richardson Collegiate in Ajax, offering a rich showcase of local talent and small businesses. A heartfelt thank you to all the staff and student ambassadors whose hard work made the event such a success. On February the 9th, the DDSB community celebrated art, culture and outstanding student talent at the Durham Black Educators Network Black History Month celebration. The evening featured powerful singing, spoken word and dance performances, a beautifully curated visual arts gallery showcasing DDSB artists, and an inspiring keynote address from Ontario's Principals Council, President Jeff Maharaj. This month, our SCC listening tour brought us to Vimy Ridge and Goodwood Public School. We appreciate the meaningful conversations with parents and guardians and the opportunity to hear directly about the priorities and concerns unique to each community. And riding those bikes was absolutely amazing. That concludes the Chair's update. I will now ask staff to share this month's multi-year strategic plan system update.
We are excited to share a sample of stories that highlight our multi-year strategic plan, MYSP Pillar of Connected Communities.
DDSB People and Culture organize an open house opportunity for staff to connect, collaborate, and recharge together. Central staff host the tables to showcase their work, highlight opportunities for collaboration, and share helpful information and resources. In attendance were DDSB affinity networks as well as union and federation partners to share information with staff in attendance.
The DDSB's Anti-Black Racism Advisory Committee brings community voices together to help shape recommendations to the Board of Trustees. The committee has been working together to increase the number of Black graduation coaches to expand their reach across the district. The committee continues to provide more support, more connection, and more opportunities to address learning and well-being barriers for Black students across our schools.
The DDSB boasts 12 affinity groups that each work to create vibrant, community-centered experiences, celebrating the unique cultures that reflect our diverse staff, student, and community identities, build connection and understanding, and foster belonging. Recently, the Durham Black Educators Network celebrated Black History Month, and the Durham Tamil Educators Network gathered for Tamil Heritage Month. On February 19th, Durham East Asian Network in Education will welcome in the new year. Thank you to all our affinity networks for all the work you do.
DDSB staff, students, and families have shown incredible generosity and heart through school-led and self-led initiatives supporting the Ignite Durham Learning Foundation. From Toonie Tuesday, raising an amazing $12,680.86 system-wide, to Eric York's kindness campaign at Eagle Ridge Public School and Dunbarton High School, raising over $10,000. These efforts are making a real difference for those in need across our communities. Thank you to everyone who led, participated, and gave so generously. Your kindness and commitment truly ignite Durham.
The Durham District School Board welcomed over 400 attendees at its first Control Alt Educate event. The day brought together families and staff from across the region to explore how technology and artificial intelligence are shaping modern learning. Students from K-8 explored interactive stations, creative activities, and practical learning sessions tailored to both students and caregivers.
Family and Community Engagement recently hosted Dr. Susan Hopkins as part of their speaker series. Her session titled When Behavior is a Signal, a Self-Regulation Lens, offered parents and caregivers an insight into practical ways to see behavior differently, recognize stressors, reduce stressors, grow self-awareness, and honor individual differences.
The Durham District School Board is pleased to have hosted its first ever special education parent caregiver symposium, an engaging evening designed to inform, connect, and empower families. Parents and caregivers gained valuable insights into special education programming support, placement options, and pathways for secondary planning. This dedicated learning experience provided space for meaningful conversation, questions, and shared understanding, helping families navigate their child's educational journey with confidence.
Thank you to Priya and Jaya from RS McLaughlin CVI for reading this month's NYSP update.
So we will now move to the recommended actions, agenda item 10. The unnamed North Oshawa Public School boundary, and I will ask Associate Director Lisa Bianca.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. In the first of 4 boundary consultations being presented this evening, I'd like to share the results of the comprehensive boundary review undertaken to establish the permanent attendance boundary for the new unnamed North Oshawa Public School. This new school is scheduled to open in September 2026 with a ministry-rated capacity of 634 students in grade JK to grade 8. This review responds to a significant residential growth in North Oshawa and aims to ensure equitable, sustainable pupil accommodation across partner schools currently experiencing substantial enrollment pressure. So the boundary review was initiated in October 2025 and included multiple consultation channels, school community council meetings, public meeting, webinar, online survey, and email submissions. Staff had presented an initial proposed boundary, which you can find in Appendix A1 in your package, and received 7 community-generated alternate options and developed a final revised recommendation, which you will find in Appendix A3. This revised boundary reflects community feedback and further enrollment analysis. It's important to, I'm going to deviate a little, it's important to understand the previous boundaries in place and the great growth in the area in order to appreciate the complexity that this consultation presented. The original Kedron PS was a 4-room school, and it was constructed in 1960. And at that time, it served the immediate area and all the farmland to the north, west, and east. The boundary was extensive. It was pretty much everything north of Conlon and an area south of Conlon as well, but it was sparsely populated. Over time, 3 more additions were added, and eventually in the late 1990s, the school reached 262 pupil places. However, in the last 10 years, significant growth has occurred in the area. Kedron could not sustain the growth. Growth areas were established, and those students attended other schools until the first 2 and now a 3rd new school was built. Even with tonight's recommended boundary, Kedron remains highly utilized with over 175% utilization, and the development immediately north of the school and to the northeast on the corner of Ritson and Conlon still can't be accommodated at Kedron, even though it's immediately adjacent to the school. As these new homes become occupied, these students will attend a partner school until their new school is built, despite being in the original Kedron boundary. Partner schools that are currently accommodating the growth, Dr. S.J. Phillips, Kedron, Northern Dancer, and Sunset Heights, are operating at significantly above capacity with portables in extensive use. Opening the new school will allow the redeployment of up to 21 portables across the district, and it will reduce our reliance on alternative space. Community feedback focused on walkability, sibling continuity, childcare availability, and concerns about shifting long-established neighborhoods. Staff assessed the impact of each of the 7 community proposed boundary options. Several suggestions, if implemented, would have resulted in underutilization at Northern Dancer and continued extreme pressure at Kedron, up to 186% utilization, and the increased risk of student overflow and the need to separate siblings for incoming families. However, the community input did result in changes to the original recommended boundary, including moving the area south of Pindar Crescent into the Northern Dancer public school boundary and defining an area for future growth north of Winchester to be partnered with Northern Dancer. Positive impacts of the revised boundary include maintaining the unnamed North Oshawa PS at 99% utilization with no portables required. Kedron PS decreases to 176% utilization, still requiring portables but with reduced immediate pressure. Northern Dancer will operate initially at 67% utilization, but growing quickly as it supports further growth in the Kedron area. And we anticipate a decline in transportation as many of these realignments will provide walking opportunities for students. The recommended boundary does alleviate acute pressure at the partner schools and supports long-term planning for additional new schools in the Kedron and Columbus growth areas. Risks include ongoing enrollment pressure at Kedron and eventually requiring the overflow of new in-area registrations should it come to that. Opportunities, though, include improved student experience through the reduced use of temporary spaces, better geographic alignment of students to local schools. Staff recommend that the Board of Trustees approve the permanent attendance boundary as outlined in Section 6.4.3 and depicted in Appendix A3 to be effective September 2026. A recommended action can be found on page 26 of your package. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any trustees willing to move and second the recommended action included in this report? Thank you, Trustee Thatcher. Thank you, Trustee Pinello. Discussion and debate on this motion is now open, and I'd like to offer the first opportunity to Trustee Thatcher as the mover of this motion.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the Associate Director. I just wanted to say that through the extensive reading in this report, very, very comprehensive report, I just noticed that there was a tremendous amount of public consultation, which I think speaks so well for that department. I think that there were 2 things that jumped out at me. That was the Kedron capacity, even after the boundary review of, I think it was around 176%, well over capacity still, and the Northern Dancer around, I think, 67% under capacity. But I think you did address, though, and if I understood correctly, in terms of Kedron, we're looking for future development in North Oshawa, and I know that is a major area of growth. We recognize it to be a major area of growth and will be certainly seeing future schools open as well. Northern Dancer, I believe it was the same situation where we were looking at a neighborhood of more people moving into the new neighborhood, and then we'll improve the capacity there. Did I understand that correctly, Associate Director?
Okay. Thank you for your question through you, Madam Chair. That's absolutely correct. Northern Dancer, I'm sure, will be happy for a little bit of relief. They have been extremely full for many, many years. At one time, we had, I think, 19 portables on site. But yeah, so a little bit of relief, but it will be short-lived as the area in Kedron, north of by Winchester, begins to be developed. Those students will be coming into the Northern Dancer catchment area, and we anticipate it quickly filling up. The other thing about the population at Kedron, with the sort of restriction in the Kedron permanent boundary that's remaining, We anticipate that the 126% or 176% will be sort of hopefully sort of a peak. And as that community matures and the students that are there sort of move on to secondary school, we will see some relief. There's many, many young families there, and as that school population matures and moves on, we anticipate getting some relief from that 176%.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Trustee Jacula?
I'm in support of the motion that's being brought forward, but I think it needs an amendment. And I think the amendment should read, and that all students currently attending Dr. S.J. Phillips Public School, Kedron Public School, Northern Dancer Public School, and Sunset Heights Public School be permitted to remain at the school they are currently attending until they have completed grade 8, should they wish. And I can carry on and indicate the following: that I appreciate all the work that staff have put into the matter. I'd previously asked how students' mental health is taken into consideration with the boundary review, and more specifically, the moving of students to a new school. After reviewing the report, I don't see it has. In the transition plan segment, there is mention of providing supports for mental health and well-being of students, but no mention of what this entails or when things would be done. There appears to be an arbitrary grade cutoff by stipulating that current grade 7s can stay at their current school, but I see no justification or reasoning in the report why the cutoff is at grade 7. This is concerning to me. If some students are allowed to stay at their current school, there is no reason why all students shouldn't be allowed to stay should they wish. I don't have all the data, but I believe that all students at Northern Dancer and Kedron are students who walk to school, so no additional busing would be required. After a few years, as students graduate and move on to high school, the utilization rate of the schools would mitigate towards the projected numbers in Table 3 at paragraph 14. While I appreciate parents can apply every year to have their child remain at their current school, they should not be required year after year to request permission, and we as a board need to put that in place with this motion. The stress parents would carry knowing that they need to apply each year, and the concern that students would have year after year, is too great to not address it now through this motion. It gives the parents and students not only the option to control their own educational future, but alleviate those potential mental health stressors. I had also asked that the board be given options about the boundary review and not just one recommendation. When I look at the numbers and I look at the map, I had previously asked as well why the area south of Conlin Road, east of Simcoe Street, north of Pleasure Valley Path, and west of Camp Samac was not considered to be relocated from Kedron. I was advised that there are 45 students that attend Kedron in that area, and there's no discussion about this in the report. It appears from the numbers given in the report that 30 students will be removed from Kedron and sent to Northern Dancer, leaving Kedron at a 176% utilization rate and Northern Dancer at 67%. If those 45 students were moved to Northern Dancer, that would increase their utilization to 76% and decrease Kedron's to 159%, I believe. While I appreciate a boundary review is as much of an art as it is a science, when we look at utilization and future growth, I don't see why this wasn't considered, or if it was, there is no mention of it. I've not included that in my motion though. However, I would strongly suggest that any future boundary reviews, that this be given strong consideration.
Is there a seconder for the amended motion? Thank you, Trustee Pinello. Discussion and debate on this motion is now open. I would like to offer the first opportunity to Trustee Jacula as the mover of this motion.
Thanks, but I think I've said it all.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions online? Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I am not in support of this amendment. This would be dramatically different to how boundary reviews have been done for every other school, and I think would have the impact of having to move forward to every boundary review moving forward after this. The reason that we are building these new schools is that the spaces need to be freed up immediately. Schools are overcrowded. They can't wait for students to age out of the current population. If we have an option to not have 19 portables at one school, I think we need to take that and take that now. So I think it makes sense to allow 8th graders to graduate from the school that they've been in for their public school careers. But I do think that we need to move other students over to an available building and right-size schools as quickly as we possibly can. So I will not be speaking in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. And I know that nostalgia or the way we've done things in the past is not always the best way, but I tend to agree with the previous comments in that we're doing this to right-size the school, even though the pressure is from one, and we can't afford to wait for students to age out, as previously mentioned. We need immediate, basically, pressures relieved. And having gone through basically several of the schools doing boundary reviews in the recent, when it comes to the services that are provided, in that, even though it's not detailed in there, I know that there was a lot of services that were provided in order to support basically parents and students in the adjustment. Having going through closure of schools as well, the amount of supports that makes a big difference. Everybody is wary of change, and I understand that, but and it's hard to deal with. It's another anxiety to add on, but at this point in time, we have to make the decision to right-size the schools, and it needs to be done immediately. So I will not be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Trustee Thatcher?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I am not able to support this amendment myself. I do understand the challenge for some of our students, and I did see that in the surveys that was done. We had some families that said they felt it would be somewhat of a challenge for their student to be leaving teachers and their friends at the schools. But I also read in the report that there were many families who felt that there were real positive things to their students attending the new school, such as reduced bus time. For one thing, their kids riding buses for long periods of time, the cost of busing, the overcrowding and the traffic congestion, and just family planning and the convenience of it. So those are the reasons why I won't be supporting the amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Seeing no further questions or discussion, I will now call for a vote. I'm going to ask those on the lines, could you please use your hand? And before I go on, I see Trustee Morton has her hand up. Do you have a question, Trustee Morton?
I simply have a comment that I am unable to support this proposed amendment as well for the reasons previously given. I really admire all the work that has gone into this review, and I firmly believe that K to 7 should be going to that school, and we give our grade 8 students the choice. To me, that's a fair and the best way of handling it. I just wanted to make my feelings known.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. So we will now go, I'll call for the vote. Maybe we should have a recorded vote. I'm not calling for one. Oh, should we have? Yes. We're going to have a recorded vote. I think it'll be easier for, especially all those online.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I'll call the recorded vote on the amendment. Trustee Arsenault?
Oppose.
Trustee Cowie?
Oppose.
Trustee Cunningham?
Opposed.
Trustee Edwards?
Opposed.
Trustee Jackula?
In favor.
Trustee Linton?
In favor.
Trustee Morton?
Opposed?
Trustee Oldfield?
In favor.
Trustee Pinillo?
In favor.
Trustee Thatcher?
Opposed.
And Chair Brown?
Opposed.
Opposed.
And Student Trustee Rendor?
Opposed.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, we have 7 trustees opposed, 4 trustees in favor, 1 trustee absent. We have 2 student trustees opposed and 1 student trustee absent.
Thank you. That motion is defeated, so we will now revert back to the original recommendation or the original motion. Is there any further discussion on the original motion? Okay. Seeing no further questions or discussion, I will now call for a vote. Again, we will be doing a recorded vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'll call the recorded vote. Trustee Arsenault?
In favor.
Trustee Cowie?
In favor.
Trustee Cunningham?
In favor.
Trustee Edwards?
In favor.
Trustee Jackula?
In favor.
Trustee Linton?
In favor.
Trustee Morton?
In favor?
Trustee Oldfield?
In favor.
Trustee Pinillo?
In favor.
Trustee Thatcher?
In favor.
Thank you. Chair Brown?
In favor.
Thank you. Student Trustee Render?
In favor.
Thank you. And Student Trustee Singh?
In favor.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, we have 11 trustees in favor, 1 trustee absent, and we have 2 student trustees in favor and 1 student trustee absent.
Thank you. That motion is carried. We will now move to the unnamed West Whitby Maskell Public School boundary, and over to you, Associate Director Lisa Bianca.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Here this evening to share the results from the public consultation for the unnamed West Whitby Maskell Public School Boundary Review in preparation for the school's scheduled opening in September 2026. West Whitby has experienced quite rapid residential growth, with students currently distributed across 8 partner schools, many operating significantly above capacity, reaching up to 147% utilization. Establishing a permanent attendance boundary will help address overcrowding and support students' abilities to learn within their own community. Community consultation occurred from October 2025 to January 2026 and included meetings with families, SCCs, public sessions, an online survey with 162 responses, and additional community submissions. Only one alternative boundary proposal was received, and it was from a community outside of the consultation area. Staff analysis was performed, and it was determined not feasible due to conflicts with the existing permanent boundaries and transportation considerations to expand the consultation area. This analysis can be found on page 71 of your package. Currently, there are 35 portables in use across the partner schools, and with the opening of the new school, 26 portables are expected to be relocated to other sites across the district that need portables. The new school is projected to open with approximately 700 students at 110% utilization, which represents the ongoing growth. Transportation will follow DDSB policy for students living more than 1.6 kilometers from the school. Secondary pathways were also reviewed. Until 2028, students south of Taunton Road West will attend Donald A. Wilson Secondary School, while those north will attend Sinclair Secondary. Once the new West Whitby Secondary School opens in 2028-2029, all students in the Maskell boundary will transition there for secondary school. Key community concerns included walkability, transportation eligibility, French immersion transitions, and bell times. Staff confirmed that transportation and French immersion pathways remain aligned with DDSB policy, and transition supports are being provided. The recommended boundary remains unchanged from the version shared throughout the consultation. It aligns with the natural and municipal growth boundaries, balances enrollment across partner schools, and presents no implementation risks. The boundary is recommended for approval effective September 2026, and the recommended action can be found on page 73 of your package. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there a trustee willing to move and second the recommended action included in this report? Thank you, Trustee Thatcher. Thank you, Trustee Pinello. Discussion and debate on this motion is now open, and I would like to offer the first opportunity to Trustee Thatcher as mover of this motion.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Once again, with this boundary review, I felt that there was extensive opportunity, excuse me, extensive opportunity for community input. I, of course, will support the motion, but I do have several questions for clarification purposes. First of all, I'd like to mention that I know our families in the small area north of Taunton were very pleased that the boundary review included them in this process. I did have a question around the, on page 71, the Macedonia Village, the proposal there to include this group in the school boundary as opposed to the Brooklyn Village boundary. And I think the reason was given was that in terms of distance, there was about half the distance that would be traveled, and therefore savings on transportation. Was mentioned that one bus would be required for this, but I don't know of any route. There may be some, but I'm not sure of any route that doesn't include 2 or 3 different routes. So I'm not sure how relevant that is. So my first question then is around Macedonia Village, and then I do have a couple of questions after that, Chair, but perhaps should give someone else an opportunity.
Great. Thank you for your question, and through you, Madam Chair. The Macedonian Village community actually falls within the permanent boundary of the Brooklyn Village Public School. And so the concern was that although we did have reach out from a family in this community, the Brooklyn Village Public School community as a whole was not consulted, and they weren't part of the consultation process for this because they aren't a partner school to the growth in this area. So since the Brooklyn Village community wasn't involved, it was felt that we didn't have sufficient consultation to be able to add this area into the consultation and then include them in, do a boundary change for them without giving the other families there the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Trustee Thatcher, would you like to ask your second and maybe third question?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. My question is around the French immersion program. I understand that from this school, it feeds into Donald A. Wilson at the secondary level for the French immersion, and then to Captain Michael Vandenbos at the elementary level for French immersion. And I was just wondering, I don't know what the projected numbers are for Captain Michael for the next few years, but I was wondering if consideration has been given to the fact that this is the only school in the area where we have that French immersion program in that immediate area.
Thank you for your question, through you, Madam Chair. We'll certainly be monitoring the enrollment in the French immersion program at Captain Michael Vandenbos. It is stable at this point. And then actually we did speak to a number of families at the public consultation who were looking to have their children attend the unnamed Whitby Mascal School in order to be closer to home. So I think there's sort of we'll sort of have to see how the enrollment sort of flows between the two, and we will keep our eye on the Captain Michael Vandenbos French immersion population. As you know, we've done sort of a number of analysis on French immersion uptake across the system. It is stable right now, but we will monitor to see if it is increasing, and then we will have to address that at a future date.
Supplemental, Chair?
Of course, yes.
I just wanted to mention in closing, on a positive note, that there was a lot of very positive feedback through the consultation process from parents. A lot of the same that was mentioned for the Oshawa school, but also schools like Ormiston Public School, for example, that was originally built as a walking school. And I think, I don't know, quite a number of portables. 9 or 10 portables at the moment, taking up a great deal of the yard. I think that the overcrowding and congestion problems there will be alleviated. So all in all, I'm fully supportive of this review. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? See no further questions or discussion, I will now call for the vote. Recording Secretary, can we please have a recorded vote?
Through your chair, I'll call the recorded vote. Trustee Arsenault?
In favor?
Trustee Cowie?
In favor.
Trustee Cunningham?
In favor?
Trustee Edwards?
In favor?
Trustee Jackula?
In favor.
Trustee Linton?
In favor.
Trustee Morton?
In favor?
Trustee Oldfield?
In favor?
Trustee Pinillo?
In favor?
Trustee Thatcher?
In favor.
And Chair Brown?
In favor.
Thank you. Student Trustee Render?
In favor?
And Student Trustee Singh?
In favor.
Thank you. Through your chair, we have 11 trustees in favor, 1 trustee absent, 2 student trustees in favor, and 1 student trustee absent.
Thank you. That motion is carried. So we will now move to the unnamed West Whitby Limoges Public School boundary, and over to Associate Director Lisa Bianca.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Also this evening, I'm here to share the results from the public consultation for the unnamed West Whitby Limoges Public School in preparation for the school's opening in October 2026. Also a new kindergarten to grade 8 school with a ministry-rated capacity of 634 pupils. Significant growth in West Whitby has placed sustained enrollment pressure on the 4 partner schools that are holding students for this new school. Robert Munch Public School, Williamsburg, Westland, and Colonel Farewell are all operating between 106 and 147% utilization with 20 portables in use. Establishing this permanent attendance boundary for the new school will alleviate overcrowding and allow students to attend school in their own community. Boundary review also took place between October 2025 and January 2026. Consultation followed a similar pattern as the other reviews, SCC meetings, in-person public meeting, webinar, online surveys, email, and voicemail input. In total, over 114 survey responses were received, and there were no alternative boundary options proposed during the consultation. So staff are recommending the approval of the initial proposed boundary as presented in Appendix A1. In terms of secondary pathways, students residing in the new boundary will attend Donald A. Wilson beginning in 2026-2027, and it will support continuity for grade 9 students. A comprehensive transition plan will support students and families. With the opening rescheduled to October 2026, staff are implementing the school within a school model to ensure a smooth opening experience. When we say school within a school, what we mean by that is we will organize the new student body into classes with teachers, and they will temporarily be located at 2 neighborhood schools until they can move as a group to the new school, ensuring that they remain with their classmates and their teacher from the beginning of the year. The recommended attendance boundary aligns with the long-standing West Whitby growth area. It supports enrollment balance across the district and ensures students are served locally. Staff recommend the board approve the permanent attendance boundary effective September 2026, and the recommended action can be found on page 96. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any trustees willing to move and second the recommended action included in this report? Thank you, Trustee Cowie, and thank you, Trustee Cunningham. Discussion and debate of this motion is now open. I would like to offer the first opportunity to Trustee Cowie as a mover of the motion. Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Trustee Thatcher?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you for the report. I just have a couple of questions. The first one, you know, I remember back when we were doing the Donald A. Wilson boundary review that we had a pocket of families that were closer. They actually could walk to Donald A. Wilson and had to be bussed over to Sinclair. And they were kind of curious as to why that happened. So it seems here there's a little area called Almond Village that they're reporting that they're closer to the new school, but they're not included in the boundary. I was just wondering what the thinking was around that.
Thank you, and through you. Just for clarity, Trustee Thatcher, not included in the Donald A. boundary or not included in the West Whitby boundary?
Well, I was just, sorry, I hope I didn't confuse matters. I was just thinking back to when we did the Donald A. Wilson boundary, there was an area that was near the tracks, train tracks there, a small group that, as I say, would have preferred to stay at Donald A. Wilson because they could walk there. So I'm just kind of comparing in a way that it seems that we sometimes when we do these reviews, we do get a small pocket of families that, you know, this seems to happen to.
Thank you. I think I understand.
So I was just wondering about the Almond Village group where they say that they are not included in the boundary review for the new school, but they are closer to the new school than they are to their existing one.
Through you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, I don't know which area is referred to as Almond Village. So can you possibly direct me as far as sort of a street or community, like sort of a street name that I can pinpoint them?
I'm sorry, I don't have I've just made notes here, Associate Director, so I don't have the actual report in front of me. Maybe I could email that information to you if that would be okay.
Absolutely, I'd welcome that. Thank you.
Chair, I just have one other question if there's no one else who would like to speak.
Please go ahead, Trustee Thatcher.
Thank you. It was just a question around Robert Munch Public School and that based on the projected enrollment for 26-27. I think we're, if I'm not mistaken, after the boundary review, they're looking at a 74% capacity. And I was just wondering here, now my recollection may be incorrect, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it took some time for growth at Robert Munch initially in that area, and maybe that's changed in the last couple of the recent years. But I'm just wondering what thinking was given to support improving the capacity there.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Certainly. We have been hesitant to add too much growth to Robert Munch as far as being a partner. Reason being, there is development growth up in that area north of Taunton that stretches north. We know there are development plans that are in place that haven't been realized yet, and we are going to see growth actually within Robert Munch's area and then directly to the west of it as well. And we anticipate that that Robert Munch will host some of those students that fall within its boundary, but also as a partner school for growth areas until we have another elementary school further north in northern West Whitby.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. Actually, just to be helpful, around Almond Village is an old village name that isn't used very often, but it's between Churchill Avenue and Cresser Avenue, Old Lake Ridge Road, and Queens Road. If that's any help to answer the question.
Great, thank you,
Thank
and
you,
through you,
Trustee
Madam
Edwards.
Chair. I suspect the reason, in fact, I know the reason they weren't included, they have never been a growth boundary that was associated with this section of West Whitby. It was the area that we consulted with was established fairly early on and planned for this future school. So that community was not part of the original growth boundary. It will be attached to another growth area as development continues, but certainly something to keep our eye on.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, I will now call for a vote. I will ask the recording secretary to please tie for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Chair. I will call the recorded vote. Trustee Arsenault?
In favor.
Trustee Cowie?
In favor.
Trustee Cunningham?
In favor.
Trustee Edwards?
In favor.
Trustee Jackula?
In favor.
Trustee Linton?
In favor.
Trustee Morton?
In favor?
Trustee Oldfield?
In favor.
Trustee Pinello?
In favor.
Thank you. Trustee Thatcher?
In favor.
Chair Brown?
In favor.
Thank you. Student Trustee Render?
In favor.
Thank you. And Student Trustee Singh?
In favor.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, we have 11 trustees in favor, 1 trustee absent, 2 student trustees in favor, and 1 student trustee absent.
Thank you. That motion is carried. We will now move to the 2026-27 school year calendar, and I will hand it over to Associate Director Jim Markowski.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Brown, the report begins on page 111 of your package this evening. So Regulation 304 of the Education Act requires school boards to annually submit proposed school year calendars to the Ministry of Education for approval by March 1st each year. The purpose of this report this evening is to seek trustee approval of the 2026-2027 school calendars. Within Regulation 304, it stipulates that we schedule 194 school days between September 1st and June 30th. 3 days must be designated as PA days, devoted to provincial and education priorities. We are permitted to add a further 4 PA days for any board-designated activities, and the remaining days are to be instructional days with up to 10 days that are utilized as summative days, formerly known as exam days, at the secondary level. Prior to finalizing our recommendation, as we do every year, we engaged in a consultation process to determine how best to meet the needs and preferences of our community. The details of this process are summarized within the report. I do want to take a moment to highlight as well that in previous years, trustees have afforded us with a task to look at where possible, if there's opportunities to place PA days on any dates of significance, to provide better opportunities for our students and families to observe. I do want to recognize, because we start late next year, and also because of the requirement of a PA day in October for the elections, there was limited opportunity to provide that flexibility for 26-27. But just recognize that that's not been lost on us going forward for future years. So we've developed the 4 calendars for your review. There are regular calendars for elementary and secondary, as well as modified versions. And our proposed calendars have been developed in conjunction with the Durham Catholic District School Board in order to minimize transportation costs where possible. And I want to safely say that there is full alignment between our coterminous board and our board. And then I will refer you to pages 118 to 121, the last 4 pages of the report. which provides you our proposed calendars. And again, this report has been submitted for your approval, recognizing the March 1st deadline.
Thank you. Are there any trustees willing to move and second the recommended action included in this report? Thank you, Trustee Edwards, and thank you, Trustee Morton. Discussion and debate of this motion is now open, and I'd like to offer the first opportunity to Trustee Edwards as the mover of the motion.
Thank you, and I support the motion, and I recognize the effort to basically ensure that we have some similarities or consistencies within our boards. I know that listening to other boards, it has been a difficult thing to do because of such a late start and how to deal with them. I'm just wondering, I know we have we're in agreement with the Durham Catholic School Board. I'm just wondering if we've also, what the other GTA, particularly that border us, particularly Toronto, if we're similar from that perspective. As we know, many people basically work in Toronto and live in Durham, so I'm just curious.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Trustee Edwards, we don't do outreach in relation to consultation with the school year calendar to all GTA boards. Really what we look at is the coterminous board, but I'm happy to take your comments for some feedback in relation to how we move forward, recognizing that we do have staff and families that work in neighboring regions. I think that would be a great piece of feedback to move forward to improve the process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will now go to Trustee Morton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I realize that when our regular school, both elementary and secondary, begin on September the 8th, and we do have to consider those 194 days, but I am looking at that 4th week in June, where we are now calling it the summative period. The exams are being written, but the teachers are going to be marking that week. Does that mean that all of our secondary schools are going to be celebrating their commencement on the 29th and 30th, those final 2 days in June? Have we considered commencement?
Thank you, and through you, Chair Brown. So different schools will have their commencement on different dates, Trustee Morton. I think it's common when you look at the structure of the summative reports. There are different structures that are implemented for students that are graduating to ensure that their summative requirements are completed before commencement. And that looks and feels individualized depending on the school. So I think that is considered when schools are planning that. I don't have specific dates, but I think I could assure you pretty consistently that the summatives usually will take place before the commencement is planned.
But we're working with a fairly tight schedule then, that last week of June.
What I will say to that is that I don't think, as much as, we do have late starts, and every 5-6 years we'll find ourselves back again starting school, September 7th or 8th. I don't think this is too unique to schools. I think we're used to it in terms of how calendars flow from one year to the next. What I can share with you right now is that I've not heard any feedback in terms of challenges, so I'm assuming that local planning continues.
Thank you.
Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just wanted to ask what the reasoning is for having different PA days for elementary and secondary schools. I know in a lot of cases, it's easier on families if they have an older child from secondary providing childcare to a younger child in elementary. So I was just wondering the reason why we have different PA days across the two school systems.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Sorry about that. Trustee Cunningham, thank you for the question. So I guess there's a variety of factors, and I think where an opportunity exists to have elementary and secondary PD days, depending on the cycle of professional learning throughout the year, sometimes those opportunities exist. I do want to highlight as well that there are different collective agreements within the elementary and secondary panel, which have stipulations on how certain PA days are utilized, so that also impacts that kind of flow of where PA days fall. We also recognize with secondary in particular, at the end of the school year, we often get feedback in relation to having those 2 PD days. So there's a variety of factors that come into play, and I think when you look at sort of the cadence of professional learning and commitments throughout the year, there are different pressures in elementary and secondary. You know, I think of just some of the elementary PD days that are structured to support parent interviews as well. They don't always align, but where it makes sense, we do our best to try to make sure that there is alignment.
Thank you. I will now, Trustee Linton.
Sorry, thank you. So through you, Chair, and ask this question, not trying to call any more of this weather on us, but if we were to experience, you know, a higher than normal number of snow days in a year, does that impact our ability to meet provincial instruction time requirements? Or how are those days formally accounted for on the ministry guidelines?
Thank you, and through you, Chair Brown. And so in relation to your question, Trustee Linton, when weather impacts ability for students to access learning, we use what's called a grant day, a G day, which does not have a direct impact on the instructional days. So there is specific coding within how the days are coded that's reported back to the Ministry of Education.
Trustee Thatcher.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment as well. Tremendous community consultation through this process, included our employee affinity groups, the SCC, Student Senate, PIC-SEAC, and so I just feel that that was really tremendous community feedback we received. I just have a question for clarification, and it has to do with the March break and the page 118, the elementary schools. I know in the past we have, I'll say generally, included the Friday before March break as a PA day. And when we haven't, we've heard from our local about that. So I'm just wondering what the thinking was here with respect. And I do understand we've got the election day this year, and it was a pretty tight schedule, so maybe that's the answer. But I'm just wondering if you might clarify that.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. And Trustee Thatcher, it's similar to one of the previous questions. So when the school year is structured and we start late, it limits our flexibility on where we have what we have in relation to board designated holidays. So I do recall it was probably about 4 or 5, 6 years ago, we were not able to place a board designated holiday before the March break. It really comes down to a numbers game. Unfortunately for 26, 27, we didn't have the flexibility to do that. I will echo, we have heard feedback, in particular from staff, in relation to a desire to have that day. Unfortunately for 26, 27, we don't have that flexibility without compromising some of the other structures that are in place. But we take that into consideration, and I think, you know, if we were sitting here a year from now, we'll likely have more flexibility to accommodate some of that feedback. So unfortunately for 26-27, the numbers don't work to our advantage to add that date or that board designated holiday before the March break.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from trustees? Seeing no further questions or discussion, I will now call for a vote. Or maybe not a vote, maybe a recorded vote. Thank you very much, Recording Secretary.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I will call the recorded vote. Trustee Arsenault?
In favor.
Trustee Cowie?
In favor.
Trustee Cunningham?
In favor.
Trustee Edwards?
In favor.
Trustee Jackula?
In favor.
Trustee Linton?
In favor?
Trustee Morton?
In favor?
Trustee Oldfield?
In favor.
Trustee Pinillo?
In favor.
Trustee Thatcher?
In favor.
And Chair Brown?
In favor.
Thank you. Student Trustee Render?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Singh?
In favor.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, we have 11 trustees in favor, 1 trustee absent, 2 student trustees in favor, and 1 student trustee absent.
Thank you. That motion is carried. We will now move to information items, which is agenda item 11. We're looking at the boundary review, Uxbridge Public School, and we will ask Associate Director Lisa Bianca.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Here this evening for our 4th and final boundary review of the evening. This one, we want to share with you that we are commencing the community consultation that intended to address the persistent under-enrollment at Uxbridge Public School. Uxbridge Public School is a single-track French immersion school that is currently operating at about 65% utilization. Staff have determined that enrollment levels are unlikely to return to sustainable levels under the current model, and as a result, we are proposing to transition Uxbridge Public School to a dual-track school offering both regular track and French immersion programs. The consultation will focus on 2 core changes. One is to establish a permanent regular track attendance boundary for UPS, and the other is to expand the existing French immersion attendance boundary to include areas in North Pickering where families currently travel significantly further for French immersion programming. These changes are expected to increase enrollment at UPS, improve utilization, better align program offerings with community needs. It's recommended that the dual-track model begin its phased implementation in September 2026 with the introduction of kindergarten, and fully expand to grades 1 to 8 in 2027-2028. Projections indicate that UPS enrollment would increase to full utilization at 100% by 27-28 and support long-term sustainability. The review also considers impacts on neighboring schools, including Joseph Gould Public School, Quaker Village, Maple Ridge, Frenchman's Bay, Claremont, and Valley View PS. And all of these school communities will be consulted as part of this consultation. While some schools may experience enrollment shifts, the proposed boundaries would reduce transportation requirements, improve access to French immersion for families in North Pickering, and may improve childcare availability, which we know is in high demand in the Uxbridge area. A comprehensive public engagement process will run from February 19th until May 7th, 2026, featuring in-person and virtual public meetings, online surveys, and the regular feedback channels. All input will be analyzed and incorporated into a final recommendation for a report to the Board of Trustees in June 2026, at which time a decision will be made regarding the implementation of the proposed boundaries and/or the dual-track structure. Overall, the proposed boundary changes aim to enhance program access, optimize school capacity, support family needs, and strengthen long-term enrollment planning within the Uxbridge and North Pickering communities. So I'm happy to share this information with you this evening, and if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Morton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I am just very, very pleased that this process can begin tomorrow, the consultation with the community. And I'm very confident in saying that the Uxbridge community will be very pleased if we go ahead and reinstate kindergarten in September of 2026. Much work has gone into this, and I'm very thankful for that. I just have a question and wondering if you would consider, so we're thinking about incorporating kindergarten this year, and then the following September of 2027 going 1 to 7 or 8. Could we increase the number of students this year and maybe include primary or primary junior? And I'm just thinking that parents might be going from one school to the other school that have similar dismissal times.
Thank you for your question, through you, Madam Chair. Certainly understand the desire to sort of move all of the families at once, absolutely. The reason we aren't able to do that aligns with the timing of our staffing process. So even though it's February right now, we have preliminary enrollment data, and the operations team and the planning team are busy organizing those 2026, 2027 registrants into classes as we speak. So we can't presume the outcome of the boundary review that far ahead of time, and by the time this comes to board in June, it would be too late to do that big switch. Kindergartens are a different story. They're a smaller group. Many are incoming to our system as JKs, and we felt that we could manage that shift for those students, depending on what trustees decide in June. So unfortunately, that's sort of the cadence that we're stuck with. So we tried to do the next best thing, which was get the kindergartens moved over first.
Thank you. That's an excellent explanation. And I'm just, again, I need to repeat, the community will be very pleased that we are moving ahead with this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. And just a question around basically consultation. We've done, it shows that we have multimodal consultation methods as well. But what I did notice in the previous reports was a lower basically attendance in the in-person, and I'm just wondering how quickly we get that date out there so that parents can mark it on their calendar, and how we communicate that. So maybe we would increase the amount of in-person consultation.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Certainly the comms team, the communications team has been hard at work with the community information that will be going out. It should be going out to the schools and the community tomorrow and the next day. So we intend to get it out as quickly as possible. We do know the dates, so we will be working with schools to make sure that families are aware. We do know that our new school boundary reviews tend to be a little more sparsely populated than French immersion or existing school boundaries. There's often much more uptake from existing communities for these boundary reviews. So we anticipate that with the information we can get out, it will be very well attended, but we will certainly continue to work with the schools to make sure that every parent knows that they have the opportunity to come out and share their feelings and look at what we are proposing and give us commentary.
Trustee Thatcher?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I just have a comment. I am looking forward to the community feedback on this project, but I wanted to show some appreciation for the flexibility and the innovative thinking that went into crossing boundaries between the north and the Pickering area, recognizing that there is a need in those schools. So just showing appreciation for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, we will move on to the report. Approved minutes of December 10th, 2025, Governance and Policy Committee meeting, and I will hand it over to Trustee Edwards.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Brown, recognizing that the minutes and any motions were approved in the consent agenda, I'm just bringing forward the approved minutes of the December 10th, 2025 Governance Policy Committee meeting, and I'd be happy to take any questions from trustees.
Are there any questions from trustees? Seeing none, I will now move to the report. Approved minutes of the January 8th, 2026 Special Education Advisory Committee meeting, and that will be Trustee Edwards or Trustee Linton.
If you want, I can take it away, Trustee Linton. As the minutes for the January 8th Special Education meeting are found on pages 141 to 147. I just want to say that there was a really great presentation on innovative education, on technology from our innovative education facilitators. Definitely recognized how old my technology was and how it doesn't function, and so need to upgrade that. But it was a great presentation and gave a lot of ideas to members. They also basically had a motion to write a letter to the Ministry of Education around the importance of the importance role of trustees, and just so you know that was finalized at the last SEAC meeting, so an update on that. And then, of course, there was an update on the Special Education Parent Caregiver Symposium that you saw in the update, video update previously. Near the beginning of the meeting. I did attend. It was overwhelmingly attended. It was welcomed as far as that was concerned. There was also basically community partners, basically tables so that parents could to look and speak to the various community partners. It was a phenomenal event. People really enjoyed it. The feedback, as far as I know, was pretty good, but I'm sure we'll get a final update as far as the numbers, but it was very well attended. And that's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? Seeing none, I will now move to the OBSPA update and Trustee Edwards.
Just 1 minute as I flip my page here. As far as OBSPA is concerned, it's just some updates as far as we will be having the labor symposium is coming up in April. I'm just trying to find my notes here. In April, at this point in time, and they have basically our working groups have met to talk about have preliminary discussions around basically how and introductions on how labor works and the labor symposium in that. And so if trustees basically want to attend, registration just opened today. It is being held in Toronto, and that really is, and as far as government is concerned, they don't come back until March 23rd, and we're waiting for a bated breath on any changes to the trustee role when they return. And that's my report.
Are there any questions from trustees? We have one item of correspondence included in the agenda this evening. DDSB, January 29th, 2026, pre-budget submission to the Ministry of Education. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. And I appreciate this submission as far as that is concerned and the impact of basically education development charges. But I know that as we go through the budget process, we're going to probably see a lot more challenges, particularly around the energy, basically electricity and natural gas, the proposed rate increase that are happening, are being proposed, which will, as people are aware, the government usually only gives about a 2% increase in that area. And when we're looking at quite a large increase, we have to end up finding that funding and out of other envelopes, which again, we already know is an increased budget pressures. But I appreciate what's put forward, and then looking forward to having those budget consultations when and getting community feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I will now move to agenda item 13, dates of significance. DDSB dates of significance calendar is made up of faith and creed, culture, recognition, and professional and socially recognized dates. The full listing for this month and next is included in the agenda package. The upcoming protected dates of significance are Eid, March 19th to the 20th. Seeing no further business, can I please have a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Trustee Oldfield. Thank you, Trustee Jackula. All in favour? Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.